Every single expert here at Denver Sports has picked the Denver Nuggets to win the NBA championship next summer. Zach Bai, Josh Dover, James Marilat, Nikola Piro, and Jake Shapiro, myself. You can find that information out in our expert picks article out on Denver Sports right now when you are listening to this. We're going to explain to you why. We're going to go over the biggest question in Denver, the biggest question in the West, some dark horse candidates, contenders, some breakout stars, and finals picks, MVP predictions, as well as some minutia that we're looking to in Denver this year. On today's big preseason preview on the Mile High Hoops podcast, I'm Jake Shapiro. He's Nikola Piro. I want to start with your biggest question mark in Denver as the season tips off this week.
There's a couple of different things that I go to. This isn't really a question mark, but I do want to just get this out of the way because, as Jake alluded to, I think this is a championship or bust season. I have the Denver Nuggets winning the NBA Finals this year, and I truly, in my heart of hearts, believe the only thing that can derail the Denver Nuggets is injuries. I just think they're so rock solid from top to bottom. I know Jake's got some holes that he wants to poke in this Denver Nuggets team as well, but I just love the current roster construction. Nikola Jokic is going to be Nikola Jokic. Jamal Murray looks dialed in, and they got some awesome players that they added in the offseason as well. But I think the big question for me is, how do the new guys kind of mesh with this team? Is Cam Johnson going to be as seamless of a fit with the starting five as we all expect him to be? How long is it going to take him to get acclimated to playing with the starting five and whatnot? And so that's one of my big things as well for this Denver Nuggets team when it comes to questions. I worry a little bit about their defense, but that's just a Nuggets thing in general sometimes. But it really is. I can't lie. I'm not just saying this to be, Mr. Homer, Mr. Positive. I just love the construction of this roster top to bottom. I think they addressed the depth that they needed to in the offseason. You're getting Deron Holmes as well, who's kind of like an addition because he didn't play last year in his rookie season. I like David Adelman. Everything we heard from Media Day, Jamal Murray looks to be locked in. So I feel pretty good about this Nuggets team. But I think for me, it's about chemistry.
So your biggest question is chemistry. For me, I think the biggest question just has to be David Adelman.
Yeah.
It's a new coach after 10 years of the same thing with Michael Malone. I'm not saying David Adelman will be bad at this or that I think that it's going to go awry. I want to know the intricacies, the communication, and now that he's the man in Denver, does that change his style at all instead of being the interim? We've already seen more zone when he's been coaching, whether that's in the playoffs or the preseason. We've seen the Denver Nuggets experiment, and he's obviously been a better offensive coach than maybe he's been afforded the opportunity under Michael Malone. We've seen him get more creative when he's been given the reins. And Nikola Jokic turned into an unbelievable player offensively under David Adelman as an assistant coach. So I'm curious how this coaching staff will be, how it'll all work, because it's the biggest change the Nuggets have had, both with their head coach and their staff as a whole within 10 years. So that has to be my biggest question mark. I mean, I have some other stuff, whether it's perimeter defense or, ball skills and stuff like that. But I don't know exactly what David Adelman will do differently. And that's not something that scares me because I think he showed in the playoffs that he can be a very good NBA coach, but we don't know for certain. Whereas we knew for certain that Michael Malone was a really good NBA coach. And not saying it wasn't time to move on from Michael Malone. I think they did the right thing now in retrospect. But right now, as I sit here at the start of a season with championship expectations, you do have a rookie head coach.
Yeah, and I think that's what factors into the chemistry for me, right? It's not just about the on-the-court chemistry, but to your point, it's how does David Adelman handle the locker room? There's probably going to be an ugly losing streak at one point or another. There's really no team that's immune to that unless you're talking about Jordan's Bulls and, the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant and company.
Well, before things got off the track with Malone, when Jokic and Murray were in the lineup, the Nuggets had never lost more than 3 games in a row after the second season together.
That's insane.
Yeah, until last year, I think it was, or when things had gone awry. Yeah. So they don't really get those losing streaks. And if you think about it, you can't really recall many, right?
No, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair. And I think I agree with you completely. I do wonder how David Adelman is going to handle, the marathon that is a full NBA season. Obviously, he did a good job of kind of stabilizing the situation last year when Michael Malone was fired and then going into the playoffs and whatnot. So you want to see him build on that. But until we get, 40 plus games under our belt with David Adelman, I think that's going to be a question mark for sure.
Yeah. So that's got to be my biggest question mark, at least within things going on in Denver. But I do have bigger questions that are going on in the West because I think we know what's going on in Denver. It's pretty settled. They had a good offseason. Everyone's kind of in agreement where where this team is going to be, whether it's the odds makers, whether it's the experts. And for me, I think if you look around the West, I really thought the Rockets were going to be this great team, and they were going to be, the third team in the West. It was clearly going to be the Thunder, and then a step down in the Nuggets, and then a step down in the Rockets, and then a big step down, and then you had everybody else. The Fred VanVleet injury is going to really kill them. One of my bigger questions is, can Amen Thompson be a starting caliber point guard right now? Can he shift into that guy? Last year, he had a little bit of the reins of that 10 games in the middle of the season when Fred VanVleet went down. It was not good. He was not ready for that. If he can be that guy, and he's going to start as the starting point guard, they announced today, Ime Udoka, they're going to have the starting lineup, tallest starting lineup in the history of basketball, with Amen, KD running the 2, Jabari Smith Jr., Alpi Sengun, and Steven Adams. If Amen Thompson can be a really good point guard, that team is to look out for. But for me, I think the bigger question in the West, because I don't know that that's a realistic hope for a third-year player. The biggest question in the West is, which veteran team is for real? Is it the Clippers or Warriors? And I think it's only going to be one of the two.
Here's the thing. Like, I think the Clippers can be for real in the regular season. Like, I ain't trusting the Clippers in the playoffs. Like, I'm just not. Like, Kawhi another year older, James Harden, hasn't won anything in his life. I know he's done the MVPs and whatnot, but when it comes to like championship type of medal, like, you don't have that from him, and I'm not afraid of the Clippers. Like, I'll put it that way. I understand it was a ferocious playoff series between Denver and Los Angeles last year, but again, like, Denver was in such a funky position with the Malone stuff and Michael Porter Jr. and the hurt and whatnot. Like, I'm not afraid of the Clippers.
I think the Clippers were the third best team in the NBA last year, behind the Thunder and the Nuggets, and maybe the Cavs, so maybe the fourth.
Here's a take, and maybe it's not apples to apples as well, because I hear what you're saying, and obviously the Clippers had a very good season.
And they had a very good offseason, too.
Like, and I know that they're kind of having a down year in the NFL right now, or they've been up and down, but like, to me, it's kind of like the Chiefs, where it's like, even if the Chiefs like limp into the playoffs or they're not as good as they have been in years past, like, I'm still not betting against them. I'm still not going against the Kansas City Chiefs for the most part. And that's how I kind of feel about the Denver Nuggets. So like, if Houston or Dallas or, Golden State have these great regular seasons, like, that isn't going to, I think, dictate how I feel about a playoff matchup with Denver. Obviously, we'll see how the season plays out, but I know that Denver can play their best basketball when the lights are the brightest, and I'll bank on that myself.
Okay, so for me, on the Clippers, you had John Collins, who's one of the most underrated players in the league. He's fantastic, and he gives them more athleticism on the wing, which they very much needed. He can shoot, he can dunk. I don't know if he can really play that much defense. They also add some really good backup big depth, with Brook Lopez being your backup center behind Ivica Zubac, who was third team All NBA last year. And he's the most important player on that team, if you actually ask me. They swap out Norman Powell, who was very good for them last year, with Bradley Beal, who was actually very good, but his contract was very bad for the Suns, and he's not on that contract for the Los Angeles Clippers. He's not being paid that much money. So I look at it, and I think they only got better this offseason, and they were really good last year. And they have a very good coach, and they have a very good assistant coach with Jeff Van Gundy. I'm a little worried that the Clippers are for real. I'm not saying they're better than the Nuggets, but I think the Clippers are for real. You look at the Golden State Warriors. They were fantastic down the stretch last year. Jimmy Butler, obviously, is now going to have more time to mold with Steph Curry. I did not like their offense that much. They added Seth Curry, and they didn't do much else. They added Al Horford, I guess, but I don't really know how much. I guess I'm not going to bet against Al Horford until we see the wheels fall off at this point. I think he can be a valuable contributor. I just don't think the depth is there. And I think that they're a little bit more easy to exploit in the playoffs because of Steph's size at this point. So I think the Clippers are more for real than the Warriors, but I actually think both of these teams could vie for home court advantage in the West in the regular season.
Yeah, and I could agree. And I guess I just don't put a ton of stock into the regular season. And like, David Adelman's talked about shouldn't say that I don't put a lot of stock into it. I do. But it's just like, to me, it's not like, oh, you're the one seed, that means this, that, the other. Like, I think Denver, can sneak in. I shouldn't say sneak in, but I think Denver could be a 3, 4, 5 seed and still have a great chance to win an NBA championship. David Adelman's talked about how, they want to get out to a fast start so they don't have to go pedal to the metal down the stretch as well. And so, yeah, I mean, the West is the best, and that's been the case for like literally our entire lives. Like, outside, it was like LeBron running it in Miami in the East and whatnot, but it was always a gauntlet in the Western Conference. And I think the big thing for me is like, I don't need Denver to be the 1 seed this year. I really don't. I need Denver to be healthy and playing good basketball and establishing momentum going into the playoffs. Well, those are the 3 big keys for me.
I need those 3 things, and I need them as a 4th thing to be anything but the 4 or 5 seed.
Explain.
They cannot run into Oklahoma City in the second round.
You don't think so? I ain't afraid. You're afraid of OKC?
Dude, how can you not be?
I mean, like, that's the team that you're most afraid of. But as I put it out in our preview, be sure to check it out, denversports.com. I don't think there's a single team in the NBA that the Denver Nuggets should truly fear. I don't think there's a team in the NBA that you look at and you're like, oh, they got huge advantages here, huge advantages there. Like in certain spots, Oklahoma City does, but you got the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic. And basketball is the one sport, unlike the NHL, unlike the NFL, maybe a little bit with the quarterback, MLB, pitchers and hitters and whatnot. One player can make all the difference in the NBA in regards to wins and losses. And when you have Nikola Jokic, who is the best player in the world still, like 5-6 years in a row right now, I feel pretty good about my chances. And they took him to 7 games last year with 4.5 players and Russell Westbrook coming off the bench. I'm looking at this depth with the Denver Nuggets team, and this is no disrespect to Oklahoma City, but I'm saying, we got to the championship rounds in a boxing kind of terminology against Oklahoma City last year. Now you run it back, improve the team, retool, add some depth, add some juice. I'm not afraid of Oklahoma City.
I have to be. You won the championship. They had an historic defense. They were into the 60s with the wins. Their over-under for wins is in the low 60s. I wouldn't be surprised if that hit over. I do think that the three things Nuggets fans can find positively from Oklahoma City is that no reigning champion has gotten past the second round since the Kevin Durant, Steph Curry Warriors. It's been that long. It's really hard to do this. The second thing is the depth that they have, which I think will be very valuable for them in trying to repeat and will make their case a little bit different as reigning champions. This is 2 and 3. They've already had 2 different players go down for significant time starting this year. You don't know them. They're like they're like their first round picks and stuff. And Nikola Topic is going to be big for them, but he's already banged up a little bit. So I thought those guys were going to be the guys that kind of buoyed them through the regular season and kept their win number just completely out of reach for the Nuggets. And they were just going to storm through the regular season and they were going to be able to rest their players. I don't think that that's the case so much anymore, looking at the way their preseason is shaping up. But yeah, I mean, there's one team to be scared of if you're a Denver Nuggets fan, and it's the Oklahoma City Thunder, in my opinion, because of what they did. So, and to me, the Nuggets addressed everything that they could this offseason to try and match Oklahoma City. If you look at Oklahoma City's bench and you think Kason Wallace is still on it with Alex Caruso coming off, and then you've got Jalen Williams, the big, those 3 guys as their main 3 bench guys, and maybe Nikola Jokic sneaks in there. And now the Nuggets' main 4 bench guys are going to be Jonas Valanciunas, Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Peyton Watson. I think that matches up pretty okay, especially when you won the starters minutes last year against them.
Yeah, you say you don't want it. Give me Oklahoma City in the playoffs. Man, I want the revenge. I like the storylines. I mean, obviously, you don't want to have to face them until, as deep into the playoffs as possible.
Right, so that's why I say avoid the 4 seed.
But I just, again, man, a 7-game series, anything can happen. Mile High City, the advantage they have there, look, I agree with you. If there's a team, if you're asking me the question, who's the biggest, obstacle in the way of Denver winning a championship or getting to an NBA final? It is 100% no ifs, ands, or buts about it, Oklahoma City. But I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, I think Denver can win that series. They almost did it last year with 4.5 guys. So I hear you. And again, I'm not just trying to discount it. I'm not trying to be a homer with the Nuggets. I just think when you've got Nikola Jokic and the pieces that they added, and maybe I'm personally a little too high on the offseason that they had, but I just think this is, lining up for this Denver Nuggets team to do something special.
Okay, so the thing that happened between these two teams besides the playoff series last year that was in the news the entire regular season, which is what this pod is really previewing, right? We're doing it as best as we can, was the MVP race between Nikola Jokic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Who do you have as of now as your preseason MVP pick as the season tips off later tonight?
Can I surprise you and say neither of them?
Okay.
I think this is Luka's year for MVP.
Oh, my God.
I do. But I mean, he's one of the favorites every year going into it. I think now he's got the attention.
Wouldn't he have won it by now?
You would think, but I think that I would be shocked. I think Nikola Jokic is going to be within spitting distance, if not on top of it, in regards to averaging a triple-double. I just think he's going to have to once again be completely out of this world to win the MVP. SGA is obviously going to make a great case if he plays like he did last year, but I just think the NBA is it's a polarity league in regards to what people talk about off the court and influence and all that kind of stuff. Luka Doncic will win an MVP. That feels inevitable. And I just think with the offseason he's had and he's looking trim and LeBron and this and that, I just think it's Luka's time. I really do.
I think Luka missed his window.
Oh, there's a take.
I think Luka missed his window for MVP, and I think this is part of the reason why the Nuggets championship window is right now. And, the Christian Brown extension that happened on Monday definitely tightened the buckle on what the championship window is and how the urgency is for this year with the Denver Nuggets. But to me, the main window tightener on both the MVP race and the championship window is that guy in San Antonio, Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
And to me, this is the first year that Victor Wembanyama is really going to make a case for MVP. Last year, he would have been the defensive player of the year had he not had that heart issue.
That's all remedied?
That's all remedied. He's healthy to go. I don't know if you've seen these preseason clips.
No, I honestly have been so locked into the NFL.
He looks like Shaq.
Oh, great.
He has a Shaq dunk now where he takes his two arms, AP, goes right into the defenders, and then two-hand dunks it over guys.
Lovely. I think that's also part of the reason why this is a championship or bust season, because they got to win now because this fool Wemby's not going anywhere.
Did you see how tall he is now?
You and I combined plus another one of us.
According to Boban Marjanovic, who is 7'3", he says Victor Wembanyama is now 7'7". I think this is the year we see Victor Wembanyama, if not win the MVP, start his takeover as the lead guy in the face of the NBA for the next 10 years. And to me, this is going to be the last chance to win it for Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And to me, the way this season is shaping up for Giannis, if he does indeed stay in Milwaukee with all of these rumors that are going on, and they have literally no good point guard options as of right now, he is going to be asked to do so much. And there is not that much competition in the East. So I could see Giannis's statistics going absolutely bonkers. So I think this is going to be a three-headed race between Joker, Wemby, and Giannis. And if you had to ask me today, I'd probably say Giannis is going to get his third MVP. And what I really want to happen, which I don't think is going to happen because the Bucks aren't good enough, is, man, I thought Giannis and Joker were going to have this like bird magic thing going on the entire 2020s. They haven't met in the finals, but after this year, you could potentially have them both having 3 MVPs in this decade, which would be really cool. So I'm a big Giannis fan. I know a lot of Jokic people aren't, but I'm a big Giannis fan, and I think this year is his year to win the MVP.
I'll buy that. If you want to throw another dart, what about Anthony Edwards? I just think, like, talking about guys that can dominate the game, highlight reel type of plays. I know he's in Minnesota, whatnot. He's 5th right now in the MVP odds. I could see Anthony Edwards breaking out again this year.
What does Anthony Edwards' MVP candidacy look like? Well, like what changes for Anthony Edwards that takes him from where he is right now to being an MVP? The Minnesota Wolves go top 4 in the West, obviously.
I think it'd have to be top 3 because that's the argument that's always used against Jokic when they were like, not the number 1 seed.
Right. Maybe even top 2.
Yeah.
Maybe the Wolves are the team that finishes with 57 wins and the Thunder have 63. Right?
I think he's got to eclipse, let's see here. He averaged 27.5 points per game last year. So I think he's got to get to above that 30-point a game threshold minimum.
What was his percentage from 3 last year?
Just under 40%.
And he shot the most threes in the NBA.
Right.
So you're asking the guy who shot the most threes in the NBA to shoot 42% instead of 40, probably.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and obviously that's a tall task to ask for any player or whatnot. But I also think, again, like with favoritism in the media and whatnot, like the media loves Anthony Edwards.
They want an American star. They crave an American star, and this is the guy who's going to be representing Team USA basketball. Probably is going to be the lead dog on the 28 team in LA.
That's crazy. But yeah, you're right. I would shoot a dart on Anthony Edwards, but I don't think any outside of the names that we listed, those 5, I'd be generally shocked if anybody else won it.
This is going to be a crazy one. And I'd be shocked if it happened, but I could see a Trae Young thing happening this year.
Ooh.
I think the Hawks have a really good team around him. And again, anything you say out East, like one of these teams is just going to win a ton of games because there's just nothing there in the East. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think obviously Luka's more likely than Trae Young. But I just don't see the Lakers having a good candidacy this year. I don't like the Lakers as a team. I don't like what they're shaping up to be.
I don't like anything about the Lakers. I just want to say that real quick. There's nothing about I do like their uniforms.
Okay.
I will say their uniforms are real clean, but everything else about the Lakers.
On the star conversation, MVP conversation, do you have a breakout star for this year? I have a couple candidates for breakout star. I'm going to save the guy who I have winning it, but the guy who's most likely to win Most Improved Player of the Year right now is Amen Thompson. I wouldn't categorize him as a breakout star because I think last year was his real breakout year. And I think Amen Thompson's going to be an all-star player this year. I think he's going to go to his first all-star game this year. He's going to be awesome. But I think his little brother is not little brother, but his twin brother is Sir Thompson, has a candidacy to be a breakout star this year. He's going to take on more touches for Detroit. He's healthy this year. So I think that's a big one. And then another guy who's moved on from the Rockets, Cam Whitmore, going to DC. There's going to be a lot of touches. So those are a couple of the guys. I'm going to save my number one candidate for breakout star, but who's your breakout star for this?
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, it's hard, right? Because there's a lot of these guys that kind of established themselves like towards the end of last year and whatnot. Like a guy that I think we all kind of fell in love with Indiana is Benedict Mathurin.
That's my guy.
Like,
got it.
That's a guy that just, took the world by storm out there in the Eastern Conference playoff and whatnot. So that's someone that I would look at as well.
I loved him at Arizona. I saw him play against Colorado a bunch. I think Benedict Mathurin is poised to take on a lot of those Halliburton touches from last year that obviously aren't going to Halliburton.
Yeah, he's out all year. I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. So,
oh man, that sucks.
I think Benedict Mathurin for Most Improved Player of the Year is a very good bet. Not that I do gamble. I don't gamble, so I'm not good at that. But
sandwich bet with your friends.
I love Benedict Mathurin, and I have for a long, long time. And I think that the amount of touches that is going to increase. I think how serious that team is. I think the pace that Rick Carlisle likes to run. I think it's all working towards Benedict Mathurin. And the thing that was working most against Benedict Mathurin last year was him and Halliburton play very opposing styles. And without Halliburton in the way, you have Benedict Mathurin able to run his style as well as get those touches. So I see him having a huge year.
Yeah, he can assert himself, right? Like that's the thing with no Halliburton, like you're just going to have naturally more opportunities, and what you saw from him late in the year and in the playoffs. I mean, I think it's lining up, and to Jake's point, just where the Eastern Conference is at as a whole is some of these teams are just going to boat race the others.
So dark horse contender, I think this has to be an East team, unless you're going off the board with a West team. I have two dark horse contenders this year. You heard my Bucks spiel because Giannis. If Giannis is there, they're going to win close to 50 games, and that's going to be one of the best teams in the East. They have literally no ball skills at point guard, but I don't know if that's going to cost them until deeper into the playoffs. So I think the Bucks are a dark horse contender just based off that. And then the team I absolutely adore this year, and they were one of my favorite teams to watch last year until it kind of went awry in the second half, led by a buff, the Orlando Magic. Adding Desmond Bane, who's a top 50 player in the NBA. They needed more shooting. Bane's one of the best shooters in the league. Paolo Banchero is unbelievable, and they have good big depth. They have an incredible defense. I really like Jalen Suggs. He missed a lot of time last year. If he's healthy, both Wagners missed time last year. The main Wagner, if he's healthy, he is a secondary star already in this league. I think this Magic team has the potential to, shoot up and win like 55 games.
Yeah, speaking of dope jerseys, the Magic rebrand, big fan of that. But yeah, that was going to be my team dark horse candidate out of the Eastern Conference and just the NBA in general. I think Jake kind of hit the nail on the head there. I mean, Banchero's really blossomed into this awesome player for the Magic. Adding Desmond Bane is huge. Franz Wagner's a stud, or Wagner, I should say, is an absolute stud. Like their coach, like that dynamic. That it would not surprise me. I'm not going to say if the Magic would be that. I'd be surprised if they end up in the NBA final. It would not surprise me if they end up in the conference final, though.
So who do you have coming out of the East?
You're not going to like this. I ain't picking against the Celtics, bro. And I know they lost Al Horford. I know Jason Tatum's out, but I think the indications if Jason Tatum comes back in the middle of the year, which it seems like he could, I'm not trusting the Knicks, a team that I grew up rooting for and understand a lot. I just can't trust them. Cleveland wets the bed year after year in the playoffs. I like them in the regular season, but I like Boston's mentality. I think, the coach and whatnot. What is The Departed? That's the movie he watches like every day.
The Town.
The Town, excuse me.
He probably watches The Departed a lot, too.
Yeah, Joe Mazzulla. Departed is in Boston, though, I believe.
Both are.
Are they really? I don't think I've seen.
You haven't seen The Town?
No, dude.
It's like one of my favorites.
I just watched Goodfellas.
Dude,
100 times
I quote The Town all the way, all the time. The line in The Town, Jeremy Renner, one of my favorite actors, when Ben Affleck comes up and, Jim, you can't ask any questions.
Yep.
Whose car we taking?
Incredible.
From Jeremy Renner.
Oh
my God, it's perfect.
Yeah,
it's
I've seen the clips.
Whose car we taking?
I just think, and it's hard for me. It's not a dark horse or, coming out of the East and whatnot, but I just think, again, if Jason Tatum's healthy, and I know they lost Al Horford,
well, they have longer shot than Orlando, so it is a dark horse.
Yeah, I guess that's fair then. Boston.
So you've got Boston coming out of the East. I disagree with that because I think their big situation is horrendous.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, Kata is going to start at center for them, and they lost Cornette too. They didn't just lose Horford.
Make a trade. There's some stuff that could happen.
They're more likely to trade Jaylen Brown, I think, and tank this year than they are.
They've been talking about trading Jaylen Brown for like a century, bro.
It's because he's not that good. So yeah, there's that. And I think they're more likely to blow it up and rebuild around Jason Tatum this year than make the finals. But yeah, I mean, their coach is a madman. They're going to shoot a bunch of threes. If those threes go in, they're going to have a chance. Like, that's really it. Coming out of the East this year, I was really torn between Orlando, Cleveland, and the New York Knicks. I had the Knicks last year. I think I was 1 year too soon. I think the Knicks, the one concern I have is Mike Brown. I'm not the biggest Mike Brown fan, but they add Jordan Clarkson to that bench. They just desperately needed something off that bench, another punch. Clarkson can still be that guy. We've seen him kind of be nomadic in Utah the last year or so. So who knows what he can still offer at this point. But adding Gershon Yabusele, who was one of my favorite guys that the Nuggets could have grabbed as a backup center, backup power forward, I think was huge. I really, really just love this Knicks team. And I've thought that they would be awesome as long as their starting five is healthy. I think they're great. I think there's too many questions in Cleveland. I think Orlando's 1 year too early. They've got to mesh. So I think this is the Knicks' chance. And, as I said at the start of the podcast, we all have them, whoever you've picked out of the East. You've picked Boston. I've picked New York. We all have them meeting the Nuggets, and we all have the Nuggets beating them in the finals. So I want to just switch gears real quick as we talk about the Nuggets. We talked about biggest question in Denver. We've talked about why their offseason is so good. What's your X factor for the Nuggets this year?
I talked about injuries. I mean, that's a hard thing to forecast and whatnot. Again, I think if the Nuggets stay healthy, they're going to be good to go. I truly just think it's addressing the issues that have plagued them for the last couple of years. It's those bench minutes and it's the non-Jokic minutes. I think because I love the starting five with Cam Johnson. I love the starting five even when Michael Porter Jr. was here. The question to me is bridging the gap. And so I think that's my X factor is can the bench guys, the Tim Hardaway Jr.'s, the Bruce Browns, the Deron Holmes, all these different guys, Peyton Watson, can he take a step? Can Zeke Naji be serviceable for a couple of minutes every now and again? That to me is the X factor for the Nuggets because I have no questions about the starting five once we see Cam Johnson gel.
So the X factor from Zach Bye and Josh Dover were both Jamal Murray. I thought was interesting. I think Jamal is who Jamal is at this point. I'm not concerned or worried. I think you're just getting Jamal. James Merilatz was Valanciunas. I think Valanciunas is going to be a swing player for this team. I think he's going to completely change the team, as you're kind of mentioning with the bench stuff. Part of me wants to say Aaron Gordon for the X factor because I think if his legs are healthy and he's more focused on defense, that changes the makeup of this team. But the biggest offseason acquisition was Cameron Johnson. And I think if Cameron Johnson is a guy for the Denver Nuggets that can take some pressure off of Jamal Murray while at the exact same time actually bringing 20 points per game, like he brought 19 last year for Brooklyn, just upping that a little bit. If the Nuggets add another 20 point per game scorer to this team, Jamal, Nikola, and Cam Johnson, they're going to be really tough to beat. And that's without even mentioning anything else because you're just getting at least 60 a night from three guys. And you add an Aaron Gordon, and that's definitely 75. And Jokic, by the way, is more than 20. That's definitely around 30. So we're getting 85 points guaranteed a night from four guys.
Yeah, well, what did Aaron Gordon say at Nuggets Media Day? Like, I'm just going to turn up on defense. Like, he knows that the offense is going to take care of itself. He's going to get his alley-oops. He was solid from three-point land, much better than I think we all thought he would be last year from beyond the line and whatnot. And so I think, Aaron Gordon is going to be your defensive anchor. He's going to sprinkle in some fun dunks and some awesome stuff on offense as well. But to your point, your three-headed monster of attack for Denver on offense is you got Jamal Murray, you got Nikola Jokic, you had Cam Johnson, and then you've got Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown that are going to turn up on defense and really well-round this Denver Nuggets team this year.
And I think Christian's points per game is actually going to come down, not go up.
Not a bad thing. He got his money.
Yeah, he got his money. I think they're going to not run as many fast breaks. I think Cam Johnson is going to be more relied upon for offense than Christian this year.
And I like that.
Yeah.
I don't need Christian to run the offense.
No, I don't.
It's a little clunky when he does.
No, and I think there's going to be a time and a place for it, but I don't want it consistently, and especially with Bruce Brown, duplicative of a lot of the things Christian can do, but more of a playmaker. I think that's another X factor. If Bruce Brown is the player he was 2 years ago here, the Denver Nuggets might not only win a championship, they might do it again in 20 games and also win 60 in the regular season.
Buckle up. I'm ready, dude. I'm so amped up. And obviously we're in the meat of football season, but with the NBA starting up this week, when was this is the first time I think ever that you can legitimately hold the Nuggets' feet to the fire in regards to championship or bust. You wanted them to win a championship.
I did in 22 coming into that year just because it's Jamal's healthy. They have no more excuses.
But even more now than that, I feel like.
Yeah, I think the pressure's on them this year in a way that it wasn't that year, because they've already won it, so they don't have that historic pressure anymore. But just within this window, the pressure is really on, because I think everyone's looking at this and going, I mean, they could push this out for another couple years, really, but this is their best last chance.
Yeah, I would agree with you as well. Make it count.
All right. It starts Thursday against the Golden State Warriors, who are one of my biggest question marks in the West. We will be talking to you a bunch here on the Mile High Hoops podcast every Monday and Thursday throughout the course of the regular season, as well as some bonus pods thrown in between there. He's Nikola Piro. I'm Jake Shapiro. This is Denver Sports. Make sure you check out all of our content on social media, as well as YouTube, like and subscribe, and our website, denversports.com. Denversports.com. Denversports.com.